Greetings to you all.
Welcome, sir.
In my opinion, there are several problems that we may encounter, and actually, these problems are covering the entire Middle East now. And this probably means that the forthcoming administration in the U.S. will have to play a crucial role in this, in maintaining, especially that the Middle East crisis is multifaceted, and this also means that it will have to call for several interventions at different levels, political, social, and economical, and that means that there is further pressure on the forthcoming U.S. administration to be maximally efficient in maintaining this.
Sir, how can Israel ban and strike facilities responsible for the vaccination despite the World Health Organization coordinating with Israelis, and there is supposed to be a humanitarian pause at this point?
I would call this a true embargo. I mean, this is a total besieging of the entire area, and this is becoming really a war zone in its sheer sense. And this means that access for humanitarian aid is, if not completely restricted, at least severely hampered by the mobility on the ground and the distribution of goods, the distribution of medicine, and distribution of food, and this is further inflaming the entire situation on the entire territory. The Middle East as a whole is caught on the fire, and I must say that this is a true reflection of the intense Israeli bombings that is happening on the ground, as you can see, and we have all seen scenes of humanitarian aid trucks that are denied access through the several entry points into the territory. And this is also supported, unfortunately, by the U.S. administration, which does not seem to be doing anything in this respect. This is also seen particularly in Rafah, where there is the entry point and the main artery to humanitarian corridor to be able to access the Palestinian data. Unfortunately, all the efforts up to now that have been deployed in this respect have been met with dismal failure, and this is causing really a big disruption of the humanitarian crisis on the ground. And unfortunately, there is also a mass movement of Palestinians across the territory that is further making the situation even precarious. and, and I believe that this is a very programmed war ahead.
Sir, what measures can be taken to save the health situation in Gaza before an uncontrollable crisis takes place?
The situation on Gaza is really critical, actually, from the very first moment of the war. This, and I must say that the unconditional support of the U.S. for the military operation by the has led to massive casualties, even among civilians, among children. I mean, up till now, the death toll has reached 11,000 women and countless children. And we believe that this is really becoming in proportions. And let us be very clear that in the international community, it does not seem to be able to come up with stringent enough decisions to bring this war to at least a ceasefire or And we need a very strong deterrent to force the Israelis to come to stop. And I believe that the international tribunal is also should be involved so as to become an authority in this matter. And unfortunately, the U.S. administration seems to be providing unwavering support for these activities on the ground. And I must say also that even the American Congress has been imposing its own set of sanctions against the International War Tribunal. This is really becoming unbearable, and there have been several calls from the International Tribunal to bring the
Sir, I want to ask you a question here. Violating the pre-coordinated humanitarian pause for the polio vaccination, in addition to the Israeli army continuous, sir, and of course, intentionally continuous and intentional targeting of health workers and of course of UNRWA staff and UNICEF staff. So where does the international community stand from all that's happening, especially that these civilian deaths are targeting civilians and children that are not related to the entire situation that's taking place?
One of the most very strong scenes to remember is the fact that applying or implementing international law on the ground is being totally disrupted, and I believe that if Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the UN, had intervened personally, he could have been truly a dove of peace, some sort of a symbol for peace. Unfortunately, there has been a severe pressure upon the UN bodies, about UN entities that have been offering help, free help, and that have been rebuked, and this is happening from the Israeli side. Look at the UN UNRWA. UNRWA is being despised by the Israeli authorities, and this is a further pressure on the humanitarian aid that is being distributed on the ground. Officially, Israel is offering for humanitarian help, but none of this is happening, and this is really turning into a big farce. And I believe that the Gaza Strip is today the scene of intense fight between the Israeli colons themselves, if not the military, which further proves that there is truly a programmed war that is being held. And we have 12 hot zones now in Gaza that are really where the situation has become unbearable. And I believe that even the Al-Aqsa Mosque is being targeted. And
Mr. Faris, as the, of course, United States election is in 2 days, and new president for the United States will be, of course, sworn in. How do you read the situation in short? Because I have to wrap up this segment as soon as possible.
What we have seen up till now is that the ex-president Trump had already taken some very drastic measures in favor of Israel in the past, and and I don't think that this situation will change. His position and the stance of the United States will remain the thing. For example, the mere moving the Jewish capital to Jerusalem was in itself a frank way of really intimidating the Arabs at the time and the Palestinians in particular. Of course, everyone is pretending that Israel is in self-defense, but this is only a very false pretense. But
Of course.
unfortunately, this is working, and I believe the two-state solution remains the only position